Hello everybody, and today we're going to be going over multi-level tokens. It is a module that allows for various different things. Originally, it was sort of just meant to help with doing something like showing like perspective on balconies, so creatures that enter in a different map or a different section on the same scene or a different scene can be seen sort of doing what they're doing down there, so it could kind of add a little bit of extra immersive. The module has since then sort of been updated and changed. Its main use became teleportation, and so now it's sort of one of the best known for teleportation, especially since that a other teleportation module, one that was a little bit more finicky, is sadly deprecated now, one that I used for sort of things like map pins and stuff. But this can sort of do the same thing. So we're going to be covering the scope of this. For those of you who have suggested things, I am looking over those modules, and once I have a full grasp of every little thing that it can do, or at least that I can find and get my hands on, I'll be covering those. I don't want to cover things that I don't know extensively about. I want to make sure that these videos are, as much information you can get. I don't want to just, well, I know a little bit here, so let's just do what I know about. I want to make sure that when you come to these videos, you don't have to look around for, well, what does this setting do? What does this set? He didn't cover this setting. I mean, there will be times where I forget things, or I don't know things, like, oh, I didn't know this hidden interaction. But I'm trying to limit that by looking into things as much as possible. During this video, you will notice that this is a completely different game. It's not cluttered or anything. This is just going to help. So those of you who are just coming in with just this module, because this is a module that you can just have by itself, it doesn't need anything else, but I will show you my module list for this game. So of course, when you get a new module, you want to activate it. I also have pin cushions, and I'll explain to you each module as I come to them in the game. But yes, so we have the iconizer. I actually don't need this on. I was testing something out earlier, so to apologize for that. Tidy UI just has this UI. Tidy sheet is just a sheet for these for tokens and stuff. It makes tokens have a better sheet. You can see the default sheet. Sorry, the default 5e sheet. I don't quite like it, so I switch over to the tidy. So you'll usually see that on there, but it has nothing to do with this. I just couldn't stand looking at that. We'll go over pincushion when it comes to it. Multi-level tokens we obviously need. Yes, so that's it. Without further ado, we're going to close this actually without saving, because even though I don't need iconizer on, I don't want to reset because I have another sort of tab open that's a player, so that way you can sort of see how these things look from a player's point of view. So let's go into configure settings. This is something I like to do whenever I get any kind of module, and I want to look at the sort of settings for silver tokens. I also have the forge activated, or the furnace activated, sorry. I did have it activated. This is the forge for what I'm doing, but this reminds me I did have the furnace activated, and I sort of explained to you at the end of this video what this does. I just don't want to do it now because if I activate it and reset, it'll turn me into the player since he logged in since this player logged in last and I am the player logged in simultaneously. And so if I reload the screen, it'll make me the player, and it just would be annoying. But we'll go over the furnace and what I used it for at the very end of this video. It is a very versatile module, and it is going to be not required for any of this, but it will help you with one of the things we get to at the end of this video. Yes, so let's go open up multi-level tokens. So auto-sync player targets. So if you have a target token and they are sort of being copied via multi-level tokens, the target will carry over, and you can target and detarget the sort of clone versions of themselves. So in other words, you can attack from above a balcony or something, or however you're using it. Auto sync chat bubbles. So if a token talks and you have chat bubbles enabled and a chat bubble comes up, the chat bubble will come up on the clone version as well, and we'll get over what I mean when I keep saying clone versions. Clone token flags set by other modules, so something like dynamic effects, when it flags a condition, for instance, this will help you sync it so that the clone token will have that condition flagged on it and be tracked by DAE. Now, the user or the creator specifically points out that he can't tell you what the option will do because it depends on the module in question. So this is sort of a try it at your own risk, but if it's having problems, just disable it. But I've never had an issue with it, and there's really outside of some niche stuff, there's no reason to have it toggled. So if you have a saver without it toggled, go ahead and uncheck that. They're all checked by default. Alrighty, without further ado, let's go over some of the teleportation, because I'm sure that most people will be here for teleportation. So, the easiest one is, and we'll go ahead and open this so you can sort of see. So before, you would have to sort of, in the text, say, like, going down, I think it was like, and you would put it like a capital letter, A for in, and like B for out. Now it has its own sort of tab, so this is a lot easier for those who, you know, don't feel like doing things that can be a little bit finicky. Now there's a dedicated UI, and let's jump over here and look at what we got. So we got in, so in other words, if you go in, and there's an out with the same sort of teleport identifier, you'll go in to the in out, and the out. If you have an in out, and say like this one, you'll go in, out, in, out. You can also have 3 open up at the same time. So if you had in, out, in, out, in, out, you would go in, out, in, out, in, out. It would just choose randomly. I don't believe, and I couldn't find any information that would lead me to believe that it would never send you back to, say, the one you were just in. It will obviously never send you to the one you just stepped in, so you won't go in, out, back to here. You'll go in, out, or in, out. It won't like sort of, but there's nothing to sort of indicate that you won't go in, out, step back in, out, not to here. There's ways you could sort of chain them. You can either have, you know, in, out, with an in, and this is also being in and out. So there's a lot of things you can do with that, and he's also looking into the future, maybe making things so they can be a little bit more chained, but you can do that already with just some, you know, ingenuity. So snap to grid. So this is for tokens, not for players. I mean, not for the drawings themselves. So for players as well. But in other words, so that whenever a token steps in, if he were to step like in and be teleported instantly, like as soon as he like gets right, like to that threshold, he won't just be teleported on the threshold like that. He will be teleported within the square or whatever shape you're using. And I drew a different bunch of shapes to show you that it can be supported via a bunch of different shapes. It'll try to make sure they're in the square, snap to the grid as much as possible. Animate movement, we'll kind of go over that when it does it. But in other words, so teleporting, it just instantly teleports. When you drag a token, you'll see it sort of drags them along. And so if you have this clicked, it'll go from here to here, like so. Without this checked, which is unchecked by default, it'll just snap to there immediately. So activate via map note, we'll go over it when we get to this over here. Scene local, so this would restrict it, because the cool thing about this is it can jump to different scenes. And with the Far Realm portal, we'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Token cloning, so depending on, so if this teleports, it'll take this actual token and move it. Or you could have it cloned, so, oh no, sorry, this is for token cloning. They did used to have an option, but they took it away, that's right. So before you could have an option to move a token, but that token stays there just hidden. So I do apologize. This is a completely different tab now. This is outside of teleporting. We're going to cover this when we get to testing in progress. So I do apologize about that. I had completely just rose-tinted glasses on. I was thinking of the olden days when this was a bit more complicated. But that's not a good thing necessarily. That's just me being silly. And so yeah, macro triggers, we're not going to cover those today because I don't have any macros set up to sort of do this. But if this is something you would like to see, I will cover this on top of Happy Trigger. So, Trigger Happy, sorry. Trigger Happy is a very, I won't say complex, but it is sort of complex because you do need to know some bit of coding. It does rely entirely on macros unless they have changed it to you work with a UI recently. So, Happy Trigger can do this. I would say that Happy Trigger probably does this better. But if you want something easier, I would say this is probably the case. So in the future, when I cover Happy Triggers, we'll go over this section, and I'll sort of compare the two. But first, I want to sort of cover Happy Triggers, which I would guess is the sort of progenitor of this option. But it is something nice, and you can kind of guess what this means. If you have like a macro that says like the one I showed you last video, I do believe it was last video, the one that makes tokens invisible, if they step into this area, maybe it makes them all invisible. So anybody that steps in, the token becomes invisible, gone, poof, whoa, what happened? And stuff like that. So again, we'll cover that in a different day. Levels, so we'll cover this when we get to top secret hush hush. It is a bit different. So disabled region is sort of this just option right here. It just disables like all the automation features for this region. In other words, like any and all of this. So you sort of just don't really feel like you don't really need to check that. But it's there if you need it. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first I'm going to show you everything from a DM's point of view. So you can have these both hidden and unhidden. I obviously like them hidden because I don't want big old boxes and I don't want players to know. Maybe there's a teleporter sometimes. And you know, usually I use these when it makes sense, like on the top of a staircase. I have it set up to go to a different staircase or maybe on a different scene to the top of the staircase. So there's usually no reason to not have it hidden. I'll usually put an indicator of some point, but you can have it unhidden. From the player's point of view, they don't see anything. So let's just go ahead and from the player, actually, let's just step forward. And you see that we teleported instantly. From here, this is an in-out. I mean, this is an in to an out. So they can't jump back in and go over here. So this is a one-way teleporter. Unlike over here, where I have set up a two-way teleporter, so an in-out and an in-out. So of course you want all of these to have different sort of identifiers so that they know what they're looking for when they're teleporting. So in-out, in-out. From a player's point of view, it's the same thing, they just can't see what's going on. So finally, we're going to be covering pins. So this is best done from a player's point of view first, and then we'll jump in and see what's going on in the GM's perspective. So as the player, I can walk in, and as soon as I'm in this square, you'll see that I see a map pin. So the player doesn't see it until they jump in. If they click this map pin while they're in here, they'll teleport down. If they are not in the map pin, again, they won't see it. If they're in, they click it and they go like this. This works for in-outs. This is an in-out, but this would also work for just an in and an out, or any sort of configuration. This just makes it so that it's not instant when they step in, and you don't have to make a macro trigger like you could technically do with the map triggers. It's also something useful if you want the maps to be triggered by a certain, or if you want teleports to be triggered via a certain condition. But this way, say there's like a teleporter and your players can choose to activate it, or there's a big sort of like button. It's like, oh, I pressed the button. It's like, okay, well, they press the button and it teleports them. Maybe it's one way, they can't get back, and there's not another way out. So let's see. Let's sort of cover what that is. So you can turn map pins on or off. I have them usually on, but I just turn them off. So sort of surprise you, not super surprised yet, but like just sort of just so I believe if you do this, it sort of messes with the players so that they will always see it. So what is going on here is that there is a different setting in the teleportation thing, and it is activate via map node. If this is checked, they won't teleport instantly when they're in there. They will sort of just teleport. Also, let's real quick, we don't want to do that. We want to save first. Let's just show you really quick also what it looks like with movement. So that's what it would look like. It's not great. I don't usually use it, but if you want to use it for maybe it's like an escalator, or maybe it's a elevator, or any sort of thing that shows movement, or you don't need it to be instant. Sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. That's, I guess, it's useful. It's useful to have as an option. I don't personally use it ever, but I'm sure there are niche cases where you would want to. So let's go over. So a map pin is when you drag over a sort of journal entry to the map. So you saw earlier that I had pin cushion activated. So without pin cushion, you'll notice if you go ahead and do this, or if you've ever done this, you just get a sort of drop down list. I do this because I like to have all of the options. And usually you would only have some of these. You wouldn't have all these options, and I could also say use any token I wanted to. So say I used I swear one day they're gonna fix this so this thing is always showing. So say I could make this sort of my profile picture if I wanted to. Whereas without the pin cushion, you're sort of confined to a certain option, like book and bridge and stuff like that. So you know, I don't quite like that. I like to be able to switch search really quickly, and I like to be able to choose whatever I want. So map cushion, pin cushion also gives you a bunch of extra options when you're doing things like this. So you'll see that I have it sort of going down and up, and sort of have a description right here so they can look over. So usually I have like maybe a door, so if they step in front of a door on maybe a map scene, it says door, they can click it and they'll go to a different map, because you can do these cross scene just like any other teleporter that we're going to be showing you today. Since that's out of the way, let's go ahead and show you what that looks like. Let's put this right here, so this way it'll automatically skip forward. So he's going to walk forward, and instantly he is in a new map, this player right here. So from a DM's point of view, you won't be moved automatically, but the player will be moved to that scene automatically. But you, if you're a GM and you move any token, it'll teleport them, and if they're a player, you'll see that where they've been moved. If it's a creature, you won't see that, obviously, because it'll have no indication. So yeah, if you're a player, you go there instantly, which is nice, so you don't have to say, okay, you teleported, now go to that scene. It'll sort of just be a lot more smoother, and it's a good way of getting players around scenes, especially when you're juggling lots of players. I run 6 players at once. It's sort of gone up from 3 to 4 to 5, now to 6. So it's nice to have things automated. In the future, I'll show you some more things I do to automate things, sort of so that I don't have to juggle a bunch of players. Maybe when they're in a city, I have automatic shops that they can just shop from. If that's something you'd like to see, let me know. But I'll eventually cover that anyways. So yeah, it's very nice. So they can teleport. I can stay on the same scene with somebody, and they can walk out to that shop. And maybe it's a pin. Maybe they use the pin that has like a little door icon. They click on the door icon to leave the shop, and they go and like, oh, here's another door. Let's go in here, and they can go do a bunch of stuff. And if they ever jump into something terribly sensitive, maybe you could just say, hey, what's this? You're like, oh, I know where they are. You can see them up here. So I know where they are. You pause the game. It's like, okay, well, you walked into a rogue's den or something. It's just fun stuff like that, and it helps speed up the sort of pace of the game. It makes it flow a little bit better, so you're not like, hey, DM, can I go can I get out of here? I want to go to a different part of the city. Okay, hold on, Josh. I'm sort of doing something. Or here, okay, I'll move you out, but I'll be still, I have to go back here and sort of finish up role-playing this shopkeep. Alright, thanks, GM. You know, you don't want to do that. You want to sort of have a bit of a flowing game, because you're sacrificing, when you're playing in a VTT, you're sacrificing being in person with somebody. You're sacrificing that human connection, that physical sort of just there-ness. You don't have facial features to help you out unless you're using a camera. I don't personally, but you know, people do. And if I didn't have any social anxiety, half my players didn't have social anxiety, maybe we would use a face cam. Maybe one day I'll use a face cam for these videos. Who knows? But no. So yeah. So I am so sorry. Really quick, back to the pincushion one. This is very important, and I really wish I didn't forget this. I knew I was forgetting something. First off, this doesn't have to be anything. It doesn't even have to be called teleport. I just do that so I can differentiate it. But you are, so you don't even need to have a token I don't think you actually need them to have the observer tag. But let's go ahead and, no, that's right, since I moved them without teleportation, it didn't add a token. Let's really see real quick. Okay, so you do need, that's one thing I forgot, and that's very important. You need to make sure that in the permissions they have observer rights. So even if you don't want them to see it all the time, they could just have the pins off, and they won't see it unless they're inside. But they will need to have the observer pin, or they won't see anything. So I do apologize about forgetting that. So sorry. But yes, so again, like I was saying, you're sacrificing the in-person thing, so it's okay to rely on and use these tools that allow you to make this game automated and flow a little bit better, because it's sort of the give and take, right? You're sacrificing being in person and having the ease of being in person for sort of these tools that help you run a game with a bit of automation and smoothness, and it's sort of, it just sort of, you know, it adds to what is taken away. It takes away sort of being able to use paper and pen products easy. It takes away the ability to be, oh, here, I'll just give you this item really quick, or here, let me look at your sheet really quick. All these tools, they sort of just take away that, and like, you know, a player can sort of whisper and talk to their friends and stuff like that. If somebody else said, you can't do that because you're in a voice chat. You know, you're in a voice chat, or maybe you're not. Maybe you're doing text chat, in which case, you know, it doesn't apply. But most cases, you're using a voice chat. You can't whisper to your friend and stuff like that while Timmy over there is getting a role playing session with the DM because he's shopping. You can't while away the time talking to each other. So yeah. That's just a quick little rant, because I know some people I've met on the internet. It's like, well, you know, why do you need all these things to automate things, and why do you put all this time into this automation? I'm like, well, I run games online. I don't see these people. They're different states. Heck, sometimes I run games with people from different countries. And a few one-shots I have, and so like this helps the flow of the game. So for those of you who really want to do this, if anybody's like, oh, well, you're relying too much on fancy parlor tricks, don't listen. Yes, you can run one of these games without it, but I think that the sacrifice from being in a physical sort of in-person game sort of allows you to sort of have these fun games without, you know, being like, well, am I relying too much on this? I don't think so. I think that those people are those purists that would also tell you what edition of D&D is the best, and they would completely forget that D&D is for fun. Literally, the rule book says a billion times that, hey, these rules are guidelines to help you have fun, but if they're more fun without this rule, don't use it. So, just if these help your flow of the game, which I think they will, use them. So, let's go over now to token cloning. So, what is token cloning? Let's look at it over here, and let's cover these now. So, token cloning, so we have a target and a source. So the source, which would be this one, is if they step in this, they're cloned in the target. So these are great for a different bunch of things, and you can set tint for if the token will be tinted in the target, and you can have them scaled up or down, good for perspective, horizontal, vertical, a bunch of different things. So what is this good for? So originally this is great for sort of what the namesake of the module, multi-level tokens. Multi-level tokens, the name of the module is because it's meant to be used originally for balconies and stuff, so you can see players on different levels of things. Like if you're above, you can look down. But you could also use it for, say, a scrying scroll or a scrying spell. Like, oh, I want to see this person, or maybe the big bad guy has a room that is set up. If they walk into it, he sees sort of you are my only hope, Obi-Wan Kenobi, sort of thing. He sees this display, this hologram, this projection of everything that's happening in this room. So if they step in, you'll see that they're here. Everything is sort of copied over. So I added a blue tint because this is meant to be like a little crystal ball. What you could do as well, if you wanted to sort of be like, well, I see him in my crystal ball, and maybe you have like a map table, right? So what you could do is, and you sort of want to make it sort of look skewed, we'll go ahead and right here, we'll make it in the target. You want to select these items in the target, because each one, you could also have different sources, and we'll go over that in just a second. So let's say 0.6. And also just to show you, let's copy that just simply, and you'll see that they're in everything, and they're a bit smaller, and you can copy, and you can change things independently. So maybe this one is, well, okay, token tint color must be valid color string. Apparently that is not a valid color string. Okay, don't know what happened there. Maybe that was a bug for editing it in there. I never run into that before, but that might be the case. So you can edit all these independently. You can have different setups. Maybe you have like a little device between players. Maybe they can't. Maybe you split the party. Don't ever split the party, but maybe you split the party. And they can put down these devices, and they can all see each other. So if the players put down these devices, and they could be like, you know, hey, Joshua, and stuff like that. It was like, hey, how are you doing? And stuff like that. Oh, I'm doing great, and stuff like that. And each person can see each other independently. So it's important to note really quick that these can't be moved by themselves. These are not actually linked to a token or anything of the sort. But, you know, you can sort of you can see them. You can sort of interact with them and hide them and stuff like that, but it hides all of those different variations and stuff. So yeah, you can do a bunch of stuff with this. It's very, very versatile. One of the other things you can do is great with this is that you can, I can't remember, it is the target. So let's go ahead and jump over here and let us put into broken hologram, let's put in test 2. So test 2 goes in, and you'll see that now this player sees it. So it can go cross scene. And you can, right now you can see that this is set up to have a vertical output, so that a token seen at the very end of this is seen at the very end of this. And I also set it up to, I believe I also set this up to be vertical. Sorry, this is the source. Oh no, this is not the source, I'm in the same plane. Big dumb, sorry. You can have, yes, so it's also inverted. So what these options look like really quick. Sorry. Mirror horizontal, mirror vertical. And you can have either or selected. And now let's sort of go over the last thing for the day. And let's move this out of the way. And then let's go ahead and have this dude over here. I have walls here to sort of add to it. So let's jump in to what we see as right. Let's activate the scene. So put them over. Okay, so I know the stairs here, so I was just showing you that these don't need to be. So this is a little bit finicky. This is why I had furnace activated earlier, because these things need to be exactly the right width, and these, because these need to be on exactly the same plane. So if these are here, even though they line up, they need to actually be, and so I had a bit problem with this with when I first did this. They need to be in the exact same point on the item. So here, 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 here. They need to sort of line up in the exact part of the square, or the exact part of the square. And so let's look at what this is. So these are for staircases. These do not go cross-seam. Now, I want to point out that I've never needed to use these. Sometimes they are more convenient, as the author says. But honestly, so they're more useful whenever you sort of want more sort of linear staircases. So let's just go ahead and show you what this does really quick before we jump into the nitty gritty. I jump here, it jumps here because they're in the same lineup. I jump here, and it goes here because this is the third floor, even though it says 2 for some reason. But it's meant to say second floor, third floor. These all supposed to say first, second, third, but I think something got messed up along the way, but that's fine. I did have some issues in the beginning, but I'll cover that and I'll sort of fix that. But it's the reason you do, I don't need the floor identifiers here because they're in different points, but if you say had a stair here, here, and then a different floor had a stair here, here, you'll definitely need those differentiations. I can't speak today. The variations, let's just say. Really quick, let us go ahead and show you what this looks like. So you want to say, you want to toggle this, and you want level, so you want to, it'll be untoggled by nature, and you want to toggle this, and you want to input 1 for the first floor. Oh, so it's just the text says number 2, okay. So these were messed up earlier, and so now their text says things, because I was copy-pasting them to make sure they're exact. And you can just change that manually if you wanted to. This is done automatically when you do this. The same thing with, say, this one. It sort of adds that flourish for you whenever you say target and source. Oh, you can do target and source so that a token both in there will go to a target, and a target in a source will go to here. I forgot to mention that as well, so I do apologize for that. One day I'll make a script for these and have everything written out, so I know, so I don't forget to cover certain things during the same topic. So level region, level number, level region, level number. So first, second, third floor. So why don't you just want to use, which is obviously the easiest one, because this needs a lot more setup. You need things to be exactly set up, and you need a item exactly called at stairs. It needs to be a token, and it needs to be placed. You could have them either invisible or not, as I demonstrate, by having both invisible and visible. If I was the player, I would only see this one, but not that one, because that one's invisible. So why go through all this trouble? Because like we talked about before, it can be a little convoluted to set up linear staircases. Instead of just setting up, hey, staircase, or first to second floor, and stuff like that. You could just have stairs, and they will always come to that. I think this is very finicky, though. I would personally never use it. I would always opt for doing something along these lines, of just saying, here's a staircase, for instance, and I would say, this is in, out, first floor. Oops, I can't spell today either, apparently. I do apologize for that. First floor. And then sort of just have like this, and then so on with third and fourth, and then just have them say first floor and stuff like that, because this goes, because this goes from first floor to second floor and stuff like that, and then I would say second floor and stuff like that, and then third floor as it goes up, or however you want to name them so you would remember it. I would say it's probably a better solution. And you can have them as small and stuff like that in different shapes. But I can see where this would be sort of not necessary, but nice to sort of have. So if you don't want to set up a bunch of squares, you don't want things to be exact, you don't need them to be exact, you can just set up this, and you can just drag and drop tokens, say here, really quick, here, really quick. You can just do that really fast. I can see where that would be desired. But again, it can't go cross-scene, so if you're using a staircase that goes to a different map, you're going to need to use the method that I preferred, which is just a regular teleportation, preferably in-out, because you don't want one-way staircases unless they're trap staircases, and maybe you do, or maybe they crumble or something after use. But let's just sort of set up what I have set up, show you what I have set up really quick. So you can see that this token, so they've gone up to the first floor. This is a mansion, right? Here's the mansion. They've gone up to the first floor. These characters have gone up to the first floor, and oh no, this beast has entered. It's really huge, but up here, well, it looks really small. Yeah, that's fine. It looks really small from the second floor, and it's moving around and stuff, and you know, it's moving around. Oop. You can't really see because I don't have the token vision thing. I wish I did, but I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. And it's moving around and stuff. And up here, you go to the third floor, you can still see it. It's still moving around, but it's so much smaller because you're really high up in the building at this point. Yeah. So again, you can also have staircases hidden or not hidden. I have them hidden, of course, so they can't see names and stuff. But of course you would have a map with an actual railing or something, or maybe you wouldn't. Maybe you just draw things. That's fine. You can just draw things and make it not hidden and stuff like that. But you wouldn't want them to see that, so you might want to empty the text out of the box, like so. But yeah, I believe it still works, because it used to rely exactly on what was texted. Yeah, so it doesn't actually need that anymore. It sort of just does that for reference. So, we're at the end of the video now. I sort of showed everything I wanted to show, and hopefully I was helpful. You don't need to stick around any further. I'm just going to go over really quick what Furnace is and what I mentioned in the beginning, and why I used it for the staircase bit. And I'm also going to go and just sort of showcase that very fast anyways, because it's a short module and I think it's an important module. I always have it on when I need it. And I'll sort of just show you really quick, and then we'll go in sort of into the outro. Alrighty, let's go into manage modules. Let's close this player down, and hopefully this doesn't reset me back to a player, or to a reset, or set me to a player. Sorry, let's enable that. Sorry about that, I had to edit it out real quick because it did sort of shunt me to a player. So now we have Furnace enabled. The Furnace is alive and well, it's burning. Really bad joke. So, advanced macros, these are important. Advanced macros are kind of just available to use for a lot of different things. Maybe if you use trigger happy, these are going to be important. But what I used it for, and you can also improve playlist UI. In general, Furnace is just a good sort of base module to have. But let's just show you what I used it for mainly, which is the advanced drawing tools. So before, you saw when I was drawing some of the new ones, they was sort of not, if I did draw, maybe I didn't draw new ones, but if you did see, it sort of just, it draws, when you're drawing a square, it doesn't sort of super connect to the line. It sort of does what walls do, and it sort of snaps to the wall, snaps to the closest thing after the fact. Well, I guess it doesn't in this case, but it's meant to. I might have something that's disabling that or something. But in other words, I think maybe if you start along a, yeah, okay. So it sort of snaps to a grid, sort of. As you can see, it sort of snaps to a grid unless you sort of are far away and stuff and you don't want it to. It's great for walls, not great for drawing tools when you want to be very precise. So this, so the advanced drawing tools sort of have, you can see that it sort of doesn't come out like this. This is the normal one. It sort of, yeah, so you sort of draw like this. This is sort of more exact and clear to find. And it can also save presets. You can tell it not to save presets, but you can save presets. So I want to draw a bunch of the balcony things, I can do that. But yeah, so, and maybe you don't want to always draw with your character color. For instance, mine is pink. It's not always the most useful color. So yeah, it also does so with, don't know why that picture's in there. I think I had it set up sort of just testing it out. It used to be my old profile picture. It sort of, so that's another thing you can do with drawings. So let's go ahead and show you really quick. Exposed. You can fill things with pictures. Let's go ahead, and I'm just using that one to sort of test using my profile picture. As you can see, I have it sort of set up. It doesn't fill up exactly because, yeah. So, that's sort of what Furnace does. It's sort of on top of advanced macros. It sort of gives you some extra drawing tools. It also lets you have a better sample rate for the drawing tool. It sort of lets you have better FPS when you're using it, which is very useful. It's very useful. It doesn't obviously snap to the grid, but you can have it snap to the grid. So that way when you're drawing, it's not so squiggly, and it can sort of straighten you out. Actually, maybe I actually have that. Yeah, as you can see, it sort of moves after the fact to align to the grid a bit, and you can disable that or you can enable that. Whichever's fine. So that's sort of now covered everything. Now we've even covered Furnace as a little add-on. If you would like to see more, let me know what exactly you would like to see. Would you like to see automated shops? That's a quick video. I might need to throw something else into that, or maybe not. Would you like to see, I don't know, just sort of throw things out at me, and I'll sort of look into them. I do have a few new videos ideas coming up, which were some of them suggested by viewers, some of them not. For instance, one viewer had suggested token mold, and we will be covering that soon. I'm sort of just looking into it, so I can kind of just cover it with absolute just coverage. Cover it with absolute coverage. I am, you know, sort of just a master of words. Aren't you jealous? But no. Yeah, so I've been a little bit less rambly today. Not sure what that's about. I've been a little bit more precise. Maybe the anxiety is sort of going away. That said, I am still and always will be the king of Lego talking and rambling. As you can tell now, it's still not super concise. This is regular me though, so I may not be super rambly, but I mean, I may not be as rambly as I am when I'm having super anxiety as before. But as I'm getting comfortable, I'm sort of slowing down. But you'll be sorry to hear that this is my regular amount of rambling, which is still quite a lot. I'm doing it now even, and still. So that's it for the day. If you had any questions, let me know down in the comments below. If you have any suggestions for future videos, let me know. But that will be all. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it's useful. Sorry about the sort of rant in the middle there about things. I didn't really mean to go so long, and I didn't really know where I was going with that. It sort of just came out of nowhere. But, you know, I think it's a good message to get across that this isn't the same as playing the physical. It can be, but I think that the give and take is sort of these extra toys and gadgets that you get to use. I think that is the sort of the give from the take of not having, you know, friends in real life sort of there with you. And that's not a terrible thing. You don't have to be sad about that. Right now, you know, it's good. You're keeping safe. You know, you're being safe. You're being smart. Not like it's like a bunch of idiots who maybe aren't being so smart and playing in real life. Be smart. even if you're wearing a mask, just be smart. Don't play in real life. Play online. Try it out. You might have more fun. I have more fun because it helps my anxiety, and I can do a lot of fun things I can't do in real life. And while, you know, I don't like to rely on them too much, I rely on them a lot. But I have for a while not used these kind of tools. I just used basic stuff given to me, and I sort of use sometimes even pen and paper whenever I'm with friends I super trust. Let them use real dice and all that. Some of my players do that sometimes. I don't do it a lot because even if I trust them, sneaky little bastards and all that. But you know, you can do it, and I think that playing virtually it can be a give and take, but at the same time, it doesn't have to be. I think that, again, yes, it sucks that you can't be in person, but I think that as you try it out, you'll find that you feel really close. Even though in this day and age we really can't play in person, and sometimes maybe even without the virus and this pandemic crap, which is it's sucky, but it's this sort of just what we gotta persevere through. But even without that, maybe you have friends that moved away, maybe you have a long distant relationship friends that you met over the internet, or maybe even with you know, a partner or something. D&D can be a great way to connect, and this could be a great way to do it. And you can feel really close with people you haven't even met. I've never met any of my players that I play with currently, and man, some of my best friends. So, you know, don't be discouraged for sort of virtual tabletops. Yes, you're not in person, but you get all these fun gadgets to do, and you know what? It can feel just the same once you get used to it. And you may even have more fun. I know I have, because I don't have to deal with anxiety. All that said and done, I'm going to exit the video here because I was just saying how I got better at rambling, and then I fell right back into the hole. King of Lego Talk and Rambling, everyone. Signing out. I hope you had a good day. I hope you have a good day, sorry, and I hope this was a good part. I hope this was a good part of your day, and not an annoying 47 minutes slog. I hope this was helpful at the very least. If you could parse through my insanity. Have a good day, everybody.